So tonight, after we went through 5-10 minutes of just BS, and tonight I've got on local podcast extraordinaire, Mr. Arron Bleise from the Fall Podcast in studio tonight. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, thanks for coming over, dude.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. I've been wanting to. We've been trying to do this.
You've been
to my house a couple times.
A couple different times now.
But I'm glad I was able to get up here. I mean, shit, you're only 20 minutes from me.
Yeah, it's not that far. So, I mean, and it's a perfect night. And when you pulled in, I honestly thought we should do this at a campfire.
It's a perfect night for a bonfire.
If I would have like thought about it and prepared more, I would have had the fire roaring and we could have sat down and drank a couple beers at the campfire. But we'll save that for another one.
Yeah, I like it.
So anyway, yeah. So thanks for coming over. And for anybody that doesn't know Arron, you probably should. I mean, I've talked to him multiple different times, but Arron's a local product of the Central Michigan area. He has a Fall Podcast. He works for Latitude Outdoors, based out of Michigan. You're like the creative editor.
Yeah, I'm not even going to throw out what my title. We wear so many hats, like Derek, and he wears multiple hats. Alex does.
Sure.
So it's just, I would just say I'm a field producer, editor.
Yeah.
I don't know. I edit a lot of Latitudes. Derek and I, we kind of tag team it. For Grit, our digital series, I think I edited, and he field produced the whole series, and then I edited the post-production. Then last year I think he did 1 or 2 episodes and I did all the post. This year we've broke it up. He's doing half and he's doing 5. I think I did 3 because we're doing more in-studio shoots now for products, photos, and Derek, or D-Rock as everybody calls him. D-Rock, yep. He's down in Ohio, so I do a lot of, Alex does a little bit too, but I do a majority of the product photography and assets and stuff like that. So I do 1 day a week in GR at HQ, and I take a whole bunch of photos, and so they go on website, social, so they can make, email blast, SMS, stuff like that. Yeah,
Latitude is definitely, you guys work hard at marketing and social media. Like I can't scroll for 3 or 4 spots and you see something from Latitude pop up, which that's what sells these days.
100%. It's if you can be in front of the masses as much as you can. I mean, and it's hard. I mean, it takes time, it takes money to do that, and it's not to get it to the masses. I mean, because what is it like? When you post something, your people that follow you only 1% of the people that follow you see your post. So if you have 100 followers or 10 followers, only one person's seeing that post. So you've got to boost that stuff with.
Really? Yeah. That is a legit stat.
I guess it was a couple years ago.
Really?
And I would think that it's probably, about the same now, I would think. I don't know.
That's probably makes sense. That's why all 12 people that follow any of this podcast stuff that I do, one of them usually listens to it.
That's why I don't really dwell on
numbers.
I will say when I started out the podcast and everything, and I wanted that dopamine hit of hey, post something and people like it. You want to see that. Yeah. But honestly, maybe it's because I'm numb to it now, and I don't really care, and I don't dwell on how many likes I get anymore because I will say this. The podcast is to a point as far as on social, my podcast is if I want it to grow, I have to start putting money behind promoting reels or promoting pictures. Yeah. And I'm just not into that. Yeah. I'm okay with where I'm at. And the podcast was never meant to be a full-time gig for me. And I personally don't think I would want it to be a full-time gig because I don't think it'd be fun for me anymore.
It wouldn't be fun.
It would just turn into work. And I know me when it turns into something where you have I do it. I haven't missed a week, and I don't know. I mean, I've been doing it 8 years, haven't missed a week, and just part of my daily or my weekly routine now. It's like, it's what I do. It's I don't ever want it to become I gotta do this because my family. I can't
pay my bill.
Exactly. Forget that, because then I just and then there's no turning back. And it's like I think I live in a world right now where I don't have to rely on it, and I don't want to be too salesy, and I probably do get too salesy with some partners, but I only use the stuff that I truly do believe in.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to ever have to take on other partners that I wouldn't want to use their stuff, because I got to put money on the table.
Because you got to put money on the table.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And I mean, and all the stuff that you push, it's all quality stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and obviously Latitude, the company that you work for, they are part of your podcast as well. So, I mean, but it's not like you're peddling shit, man.
No.
Like, that stuff is all quality stuff. The prime bows, the broadheads, the arrows and the strings that you got that are all partnerships with your show. I mean, it's all quality stuff. So it's not like you're peddling the frickin' some fix-a-flat or something.
Well, and a lot of the stuff that I'm promoting as well are things that I, honest to God, would be using if I didn't have a platform to talk. Like, there's not one piece of gear that I would just be like, because I am getting paid to say it or something like that. I would use it all.
Yeah, like the Garmin.
Dude, I mean, 100%.
That's
the most innovative thing come to archery in a long time.
It's kind of like the forward-facing sonar that fishing has right now, to where you can. Yeah, it's just like a video game fishing. So yeah. Anyway, but so we didn't really have any sort of specific game plan or anything to talk about tonight, and that's probably my fault. But I figured that being though today is the first day of being able to apply for an Iowa archery tag, that maybe we can step back in a little bit of history, and maybe we can talk about probably your most famous buck, the Great Hambino.
I would say probably.
I mean, you did put in for your tag today, correct?
I did. $662.62 is in the Iowa deposit box now.
And you didn't even flinch when you hit pay now, did you?
Not one bit. I woke up this morning to like 4 alarms of saying it's first day. It's opening day. It's like opening day. Oh, don't forget to apply for Iowa. And then when I did it, I sent a Snapchat to all my buddies. Half of them came back and said, "Oh, thank God you told me, because I would have forgot."
Yeah.
And it's like,
are you going to have anybody else that is kind of in your circle going out as well this year?
No, not in like my like close circle around here, but a good friend of it, I would call a good friend, Andrew Hutchins. Andy Hutchins, he's going, and he's going out.
Sweet.
He's going out to Chad's.
Oh,
where
sweet.
I'm going,
Okay.
Company.
Yep.
And then I have a couple other fall podcast listeners, guys that I haven't like met face to face, but one is Nick Tatum out of Kentucky. He reached out to me the year I shot, like right when I shot the Hambino. I don't know. It was probably within a week of me shooting him and hearing it on the podcast. He reached out to me, and then reached out to Chad that year and was like, "I want to go where Arron went." And so he started putting in points that year.
Okay.
Because when I was out there, and he's going this year, so that's kind of neat. Like,
that'll be fun then.
He should be in camp with me and Hutchie, and then Levi Potter is another guy, another podcast listener. I actually just had Levi on I think it was One Giant Mistake. Did we do a One Giant Mistake with him? I think it was this year. Real good guy. Him and his dad are going to Chad's for a gun hunt. So, and then I know there's a couple other podcast listeners that are going either next year or the year after. So it's Chad's is a special place, man.
Yeah.
It's Midwest Antler Company is a very special place.
Sweet. Yeah. Now, you went there was that through you were working for the Kiefers
Yes.
at that time? Because that's when, who was it? Chris that was, no, Casey was with you when you shot the Hambino.
So Casey and I, like, we were attached at the hip for, 11 years or so.
Yeah.
I filmed him exclusively,
Yeah.
and then that year, him and I both drew Kansas, and then I drew Iowa.
Okay.
And then before that, I think I filmed him 3 times at Chad's before, like throughout the years.
Okay.
Got to know Chad really good. I've known Chad probably since 2012, 13.
Okay.
So I've known Chad a long time. Yeah, and it was kind of roles reversed,
So will this be the second time? Well, I mean, I know you went out
with
there
a weapon in my hand. It'll be the second time that I've went to Iowa.
because you went out there this past winter with your father-in-law and a muzzleloader hunt, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
My father-in-law drew a gun tag, wanted to go to Chad's, had just a grade A hunt. Just experience.
Yeah.
My father-in-law loved it. We had an opportunity. He passed up some good bucks. He really did, and I filmed his hunt, which I'll probably put on my YouTube channel eventually. Saw some good deer, saw a lot of deer.
Yeah.
And he got to see some country he's never seen.
Okay.
And, it's different out there.
Oh,
and,
for sure.
And just had a great experience. Chad's wife, Jamie, she does all the cooking. It's an amazing food. And he runs a good camp. And it was really relaxed. Gun season, we did hunt mornings, but, he kind of left it up to us if we wanted to. And it's like, hey, we're here. We're going to hunt mornings. Hunt mornings.
For sure.
And you hunt a couple hours in the morning, come in for lunch, watch a football game or something like that. Very casual. Go out for the evening and do it all over.
That makes camp so fun when you don't feel that pressure like you would during the rut. That you're like, I've got to be in the tree the entire time.
For sure.
But there's something special about being in the tree the entire time. And I'm sure come fall, when you're going, you'll be in the tree probably, until you shoot something.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, I put in for the tag today. I haven't even drawn the tag. And I already know how excited I am. And I'm trying to not get myself too amped up because I don't want to put so much emphasis on the buildup of it, because when I get there, if I do draw and when I do get there to hunt, I don't want to be so tense to where I'm going to maybe screw something up.
Yeah.
Is my
for
whole
sure.
thing. So,
devil's advocate, is there a plan B if for some crazy reason you don't draw?
I have.
Because you're going in with 6 points, correct?
5 points.
You're five going
points.
in with you have 5 in the bank.
5 in the bank right now. And I just screenshot so the zone I'm going for, the quotas this year.
So you've done your homework.
Oh, dude. I've looked at these quotas more in the last year than since I didn't draw. I tried to draw last year and I didn't draw a 4.
Yeah.
And I think last year was more of like I didn't expect to draw last year, but I'm like, we'll see if, maybe I'll get pulled out of the hat.
Right.
And I didn't.
Yeah.
But it was all right. So they're giving out 448 tags for zone 4 where I'm going. And, and I think, gosh, I want to say they gave out single-digit tags last year for guys with 4 points.
Okay.
It was majority of guys with 5+. So I was talking to Chad this morning. Actually, I was texting him, and he's like, "You're gonna draw. He's like, if you don't draw, there's something's going
really
on.
Whack. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I would think so. So back to your question, Plan B. DJ and I might do Illinois again.
Okay.
We will for sure do Illinois again, but I'm not gonna.
Okay.
If I draw Iowa, it's Michigan and Iowa.
Yeah, that's it.
I did get some gain some permission, some private in Ohio.
Oh, nice.
So, and that's kind of like I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it this year. I really am going to try, but that's going to be more of like a cold front weekend hunt, like go down on a Friday night, hunt Saturday, Sunday, come back home.
Yeah.
But so that could be a plan B, and then Illinois is the plan B, and then because Kansas, I just put in for a point again.
Yeah.
And I'll have, because I went in 23. Is that what it was? 23.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a point for 24, and then I'll have 2 points. So
Oh wow.
I'll for sure draw that. But I didn't put in for a tag this year. I just put in for another.
Just
point.
for a point. So I mean, I drew a Kansas tag last year. I put in this year. I just
for the tag.
You
might as well.
So yeah, the unit that I was looking at, I looked at it the other day, and like with 0 points, it was actually pretty good. Like they gave out, I want to say, let's just say, let me throw a number out. If there was like 700 or 1,700 tags given out, allocated, I feel like 1,300 or 1,400 were with 0 points.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I could be wrong. I probably am wrong, but like it was a really good number.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I talked to DJ. DJ was on, I don't know, not too long ago. Him and I did a podcast together. So we got to talking after.
Yeah, he told me. Yeah. About where you're going.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
I wanted to go with him.
Yeah.
But he'll draw this year because
because he's got a point going in.
He's already booked the place where he's going to stay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But when I draw, I'm hoping to draw with my buddies again because we're going to a different zone, and which I'm not going to disclose. There's no reason for me to. But you know, it is so much fun to kill a deer. Don't get me wrong, but to go with your 10 closest friends,
dude,
in camp, staying in one house like you're in a frat house, for 8 days. There's just something where it hits pretty.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And the chance for somebody to come out of there with a really, really big buck.
And the thing is with that group of guys, there's no like dick measuring. There's no, it's like everybody just wants everybody to like, they're waiting for that Snapchat. Like, cause we do a thing where it's like, you get a Snapchat, you take if you shoot, you take a photo of your empty rest and you call it ERS. So it's empty rest syndrome. That's so when we get an ERS text, it's like, shit, Eddie just blew up a big one, you know, or something. And it's and then the tracking brigade, and it's the Michigan deer camp vibe, but in a bigger buck state.
Yeah,
is what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
We take Michigan to Kansas.
Do you hunt as hard? Does everybody hunt as hard?
Yes.
Everybody takes it pretty serious then.
100%. There is like now when a couple guys start, you know, when we went, I think Tom was the first. I think Tom drew blood first. So he drew blood like second day or something, and then he's camp bitch, you know, and so how we do it is each person is responsible for a dinner for the week. Okay. So, you know, everybody, like I brought like pulled pork and mac and cheese and then, you know, so like, and then we just kind of, when we get there, we'll do some grocery shopping for lunch meat.
Yeah.
You know, breakfast, coffee, whatever it is, get some beer. And then everybody eats the supper, and there's usually some leftovers. And so if it's like your night to cook, if somebody's already killed, like, hey, text Tom, can you get the stove going? Can you put this in, you know? And it's, you know, and then it's like Tom's first up on tracking and pulling deer out, you know, and but it is serious. Like, you know, when you get home, if you're hunting all day, you're dead tired.
Oh, yeah.
And there's usually a ball game on, like college basketball is usually starting about that time, and football's going on. And
well, the World Series is going on.
World Series is going on. There is nothing better than a playoff baseball. If you don't think so, you're dumb. There's nothing better than October baseball.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know, you get back and everybody usually takes a shower. You get hot face, you know, because you're wind burnt. Everybody's talking about game plans for tomorrow. You might drink a beer or two and you're like ready for bed.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
And then I will say though, you know, and I haven't killed I've only been with them one time on the trip, but I haven't killed yet, but it's one of those things where when you kill, because I've been out of state and you've killed, and it's just like so much weight lifted. Like, oh my gosh, now I can have 3 beers instead of 2, or just and stay up a little bit later.
There is nothing better than being the guy that shot the deer first, because what happens with me, I still get up when guys get up,
100%.
But then they leave and I'll sit back down and it's still dark and I'll make myself a big coffee, and then just as it's breaking daylight, jump in the vehicle, you drive around.
Oh yeah,
dude, it's just like this old man syndrome, and you're just driving 5 miles an hour down every dirt road that you can find, just hoping to see that giant. And then of course in the afternoon it's the same thing again, only it's a beer in your hand.
And when you're driving around, your mindset is different. You almost look at the terrain, the timber different, because if you're driving around and you have a tag in your pocket, you might be looking at your map, or you're looking for deer, your glass, and it's like, don't spill the coffee, and we're just gonna like take in the sights and what's going on.
I always try to set it up to where if I'm in a familiar area, that right at that perfect time, that that dusk period, I always want to be going by the best piece of ground that I know, to see if there's something out there. I don't know. It's just something really. I love it. It's a great feeling.
It is.
Doesn't happen a lot, but it's a great feeling.
I'm ready for it. I hope we all draw again next year. They're all going to put in. They already all put in for this year. Yeah. Half the group doesn't have points. Half the group does have points. So
did they put in as a group then?
They put in for 3 groups. I think they did 3 groups of 3 maybe.
Okay.
The guys with points will draw, I would like to think. So, and that's just, I don't think you'll ever get to where we're all 10 of us.
I was going to say, it's hard to time it up for everybody to go in the same time.
Because I got a couple buddies this year that are going to put in I do have some buddies that are going to try to go to Iowa, but they're pulling for a different zone. They've never been there. They're going to do public. And I honestly think one of them probably doesn't have enough points. The other 2 are like really on the fence. Yeah. But they're going to go a ways away from where I'm going to go.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So I've got 4 points for Iowa. I'm going to buy my 5th point, and then next year that'll kind of be the plan.
You'll draw. Yeah. What zone, or do you not want to disclose?
It's 4 or 5. I can't remember because I punted in both. I just can't remember which one. Yep. Which one was the last one? So, it's 4 or 5. I just can't remember. Yep. Shit, my mind's freaking warped. Because I got Kansas on the brain for that whatever unit that is that I'm going to or trying to go to. So if that doesn't happen this year, which it may or may not, but if it doesn't happen, I'll probably just end up in Nebraska. Yep. That's kind of my back pocket spot.
You haven't been there a couple years, have you?
Nebraska?
Yeah.
No, I went last year.
Oh, you did? Mm-hmm. I thought you went 2 years ago.
No.
When did you go last year?
I went early season.
Oh, you did?
It was in September. Okay. It was 100 degrees.
Yeah, jeez.
I literally was in my underwear the one day hunting. It was so freaking hot, but I'm just like, it's kind of like one of those deals. You're just like, well, I'm here. Yeah. I'm not just going to sit around.
It's so kind of mentally draining, though.
Oh, it's 100% mentally draining.
And then you always second guess yourself. It's like paralysis by analysis. It's like you overthink it, and you're like, what am I doing here? Why am I here?
Oh, dude, I told myself that 100 different times. But, we went, and like I said, it literally was 100 degrees. But my brother shot probably one of the biggest bodied deers that I've ever seen. He shot this ginormous 7-point. Had to be a 5-year-old deer.
I remember that now.
Yeah, it was like it dressed out at like 250.
Yeah, that's big.
It was humongous. Yeah, and we're in our t-shirts.
And when you got the ag and the bedding, it makes it a lot better.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah. And I mean, this is not unfamiliar property. We know what the deer are doing. We know how they're going to do it. It's okay. We know how the deer are going to move. So it's just a matter of being there.
Sure.
And then dealing with the mosquitoes.
Oh, God. Yeah. And the ticks and the chiggers. Yeah. Is there chiggers there?
No chiggers there. Yeah. Definitely ticks. Yeah. but the skeeters are like they get to be so bad right at dark that like you almost have to have everything covered up because they'll get in.
And the cicaduses too that are just ripping all the time.
Yeah, can't hear yourself.
Try editing footage that has cicaduses going off all the time. It's like
it's just like this. They're terrible. They're terrible. So that's kind of the plan for this year, and then I'm excited about hunting around home this year. My target buck made it through, so I'm excited about that. We'll see what happens.
I'm. You talk about the back pocket trip. I will do another one. Like I said, it'd be either Illinois or Ohio, but I could just as easy just say I'm just gonna hunt Michigan.
Yeah,
like I have a vendetta, not a vendetta. I got a couple deer that made it through.
Yeah.
One that I think is gonna be pretty special, just depending on how much he puts on. I shot a deer last year and didn't recover him, and he made it. And I'll be interested to see how he looks one more year older. He was a great deer last year, but I just hit him high shoulder, and and I kind of looking for a rebound on that too. So I don't know. I'm putting a lot of effort into Michigan this year. I'm putting the most food plots acre wise that I've ever put in.
Okay.
On multiple different farms.
Are you hunting any public? Have you done any?
No. I won't. I shouldn't say I won't hunt Michigan public, because I will, like I have before. I really have a hankering for like just going to a piece and throwing some cameras out and scouting it and just kind of, a lot of the public around here is so swampy.
It's very swampy.
And I'm not.
You're not that guy.
I'm not into that.
Yeah.
I don't mind that it has that, but I want some hardwoods. I want some transitions. And you can find it, but you also have to drive a couple hours.
Right.
Which, and the way I quantify that is like, man, if I have a couple hours to drive and go scout for a full, it's like, why don't I put that time in on
your
my
like home properties?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I'm the same way. I just like, I've got good deer hunting right here at home. I don't need to. I would love to go. I think it's more like I want to explore the public, but I don't necessarily care if I hunt it or not. Yeah, I'd love to just go walk it and say that's pretty cool. Yeah, odds are if I'll ever hunt it, pretty slim.
I know.
Just because if I've got time, I'm just gonna hunt at home, and if I've got lots of time, I'm leaving the state.
Yeah, so there's some goals that I have that kind of rank over the Michigan public right now. Still on private. Like I've got a new permission piece that I got last year. This is year 2, and I'm putting a lot more work into it. There's going to be a new plot in there. I've kind of figured it out a little bit more. So I'm really anxious to see if what I figured out is how it plays out.
Okay.
And that is what's cool for me,
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
You think they're going to raise prices on tags?
I don't see why they don't, like
there's talking about it.
They probably will, well, actually, didn't they already raise them?
They might have.
Because I want to say my dad bought his.
I thought there was legislation going in place, or there were some proposals going in place where they wanted to raise prices.
Changed them.
Okay, yeah.
And they may not have either, but I thought they already changed them because my dad, he gets the senior discount or whatever, and I think he said it went up this year. But
so here's my take on that. Like, I'm gonna pay it.
We're all gonna pay it, yeah.
I'm gonna pay it, and here's why I'm gonna pay it. Because I pay 10 times more going out of state. I mean, let's just call Iowa tags a freaking $1,000.
I paid $662.62 today.
Plus 5 years of points at what, $50-some a point?
I want to say they're 65 now. I think they're either mid 50s or low 60s.
So there's $300+ just in preference points before you even buy that tag. So it's over $1,000. I'm not going to bitch about paying an extra $10 or $15 for a deer tag here in Michigan. And I know guys are like, I'm not paying shit. I'm done. If we just quit buying those tags, they'll have to bring the price down or they'll have to change it. They're not going to change shit. If anything, they're going to keep raising the prices.
Yeah. Is that the older generation guys that say that? Or
I just was reading some stuff on,
Gotcha.
On Facebook, whatever, and people were bitching about it, and it's just like, that's a money grab. Yeah, it is a money grab.
It's politics.
It's politics.
That's all it is.
You're not going to stop it. I mean,
and Lansing's going to run it. And whoever's in office down in Lansing, that's who's going to run everything that we do.
Yeah. Just do you. Do your thing. I mean, I don't want to be that guy that does nothing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that's why I go out of state hunting.
I think they, the tags will be raised if they haven't already. And then they have that bait tag they've been talking about, which, I mean, just let them bait. If you want to get money out of them, then do it. Yeah. That's people are going to pay it. Some people aren't.
Yeah.
Because you know how many people have been baiting ever since the baiting ban and they're just rolling the dice? High percentage.
Are they even rolling the dice? Because, I mean, people are just outright, just blatantly do it. It's not like people are hiding it.
I know.
So, I don't know. I put in a food plot.
Yeah.
I could just as easily go buy a food plot worth of freaking sugar beets down to the local farm co-op that sells them. Mm-hmm. But it is what it is. I don't care. I did see one guy made a very, very good point, and I thought that is a great idea. Rather than raise the tags for all the hunting and fishing, why don't you set up some sort of fee for like the backpackers, the hikers, the canoers, the tubers, the mushroom hunters, the whatever. Come up with some sort of like recreational fee for that as well. Mm-hmm. And I thought that's actually a pretty good idea because there's tons of people that, may not hunt or fish as much as you or I do and love to hike. And
right.
So I don't know. So I thought that was a pretty good point, but it's just whatever.
And it's the stuff is slow going too. It's like it's never, never made overnight, which I get it. We took a big step with the app, and have to register your deer, which is great. I think that's, within the next 5 to 6 years or maybe even sooner, it's going to be the regular. I mean, there's times where I have to remind myself or have a buddy that's like, hey, don't forget to register that, and I've registered all my deer ever since we've had to do it. And that's good. I mean, we're in the right direction, and we have a great state. We do. And, and I don't want to get into the politics, but they need to figure out what the issue is first, and what is the issue in Michigan and then resolve it.
Well, the issue is that they have politicians running our resources, natural resources. Yeah. They don't have like people who genuinely like love and live and breathe that sort of stuff.
Right.
So that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Moving on. I don't want to get into politics tonight.
Have you been turkey hunting?
One time opening.
So did you get the early tag?
I got the whole
month of May.
I always get the ZZ hunt.
Yeah.
And I don't. Yeah. It's April 19th. It's the whole. It's private land only, and it's from Isabella County, North Isabella County line.
Yep.
South. Like I can't go in your county here and hunt, but it's my county private land, and it's the whole season.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So my first day was today.
Oh, okay. Because you got the full month of May.
Yeah, I got the full month of May tag, and I went out and it was super quiet. The birds. Me and a buddy went out. He was going to film me and everything, and it was super, super quiet. And then he made a couple calls, and all of a sudden, just like out of nowhere, 2 gobblers, just hammer off. I'm like, oh shit, they're like less than 100 yards away, and they're working towards us. And we're just hunkered up against some hinge cut trees that I cut down along the edge of my clover patch, and all of a sudden they poke their heads out, and I'm like, oh sweet, 2 toms, pretty nice ones
by themselves. Oh god!
And I'm like, hell yeah!
What'd you have for a decoy?
So we had out a Jake standing over a bedded hen, and then I had a feeding hen off to the side.
Oh, dude. Did they come running? Because that is, in my opinion, right there. That's how I run my decoys all the time. I will X-nay the feeding hen, but I have a lay-down hen and I have a tom breeding her, and it is, if you can get multiple toms to see that and get in their bubble, it is almost 100% guarantee it is done deal.
It's interesting that you asked that because my experience was the complete opposite.
Oh, really?
So these two turkeys
Had some subordinate toms, huh?
Pussies.
Yeah.
Total pansies. These two come out. They're let's just say 50 yards from our decoy setup. They're on the south edge of the clover patch. We're on the north edge of the clover patch. They come right out. There's nothing blocking their sight. There's no way they didn't see them. So they come out, the one fans up, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is freaking gonna be so cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, my gun's ready. I'm like, I'm on the decoys, and they kind of putter around for a minute when they first come out, and then they walk, and they're walking right to the decoys. And I'm like, okay, we're going to get a great show here. They're going to do all the things that you want them to do. And they get closer, and I get my gun up, and I click off the safety, and I'm like, okay, they're going to walk right in, because I got some limbs and stuff kind of sitting out in front of me. And they're 30 yards.
But they're off to your left, like you can't swing.
No, I'm in that direction. Like I am like facing the way that they're shooting.
But you can't shoot them.
Oh no, I can shoot them.
Oh,
I can 100% shoot them. But I'm like, we got the camera going. I'm like, they're gonna come in. They're gonna do all the cool shit that they should be doing. And I'm like, and I'm just gonna let it happen. And then I'm gonna shoot them. Well, these two pansy asses, they come right just past the decoys, about 5, maybe 7 yards the other side of the decoys, and they just frickin' keep right on walking. They never stop. I could have shot them.
Oh my god!
But I'm just like, I'm expecting like this big production Vegas type fancy show, and I get frickin' a shitty frickin' TikTok reel.
Well, Lee's got a rule. He doesn't kill a bird if it doesn't gobble.
Well, they didn't do anything. Yeah. They just kept right on walking, and I'm just like, my buddy I hear him whisper, he's like, why didn't you shoot? And I'm like, I was just waiting for something cool to happen. And then they just walk right on by. They never even stopped, looked at the decoys, never nothing. Never fanned out, never gobbled. They gobbled once they got past us 100 yards up into the cut cornfield.
Oh my god!
And I'm just like, that was about as lackluster of a encounter as I've ever had. Mm-hmm. So I didn't shoot.
Yeah, we went out opening morning on the 19th, and then my dad, my Uncle Bill, and then they had guns, and then I was filming and calling, and Austin and I were calling, and I was kind of trying to film it. I hate filming turkey hunts. I absolutely just hate it. You know, and it's like you got the net on you all the time, and it's like just go, let's go shoot them. But then, like, the best turkey hunt happens ever, and you don't get on, and you're like, I got to have the camera. Yeah. So anyway, it was a pretty lackluster morning. We had some gobbles, but right on the limb, but when they hit the ground, I mean, bupkis, nothing. And so we called, and we just kind of waited them out, nothing. So then we kind of always mosey up to our open field, and sure shit, there's 7 jakes and some toms with some hens. And we're like, let's kind of ease back here and see if we can get them to commit. And Austin and I kind of eased back even farther than they were, and we called for probably 15 minutes. And I even left the camera because the birds, they were like hung up, and I'm like, they were over a rise. I'm like, I'm going to move even farther back and see if I can
pull them.
Yeah. And I mean, Austin and I were just kind of going back and forth. He'd cut, and then I'd cut him off, and then it'd cut their hen off, and she got all pissed off, and then she's coming, and I can't see my Uncle Bill or my dad, and all of a sudden, hoo hoo, and they just coop, 2 jakes, just. And they don't care.
I was going to say they're probably happy as can be.
Happier than a clam.
Yeah.
My uncle, but they're, my dad and my uncle are brothers, and that's probably the first time they've killed together.
Oh, so that's cool.
But my Uncle Bill hasn't killed a bird in 15 years, and that was his first one. So, and he hasn't really turkey hunted much. He's kind of like just kind of easy going like this.
yeah.
So it was pretty darn cool, and I got some cool pictures of those guys.
That's cool. That's cool.
But honestly, softball started up, Peyton softball, and I'm coaching that, and a couple nights a week, and then on Saturdays or Sundays we're either doing practice or like this morning. It was a beautiful morning. I'm like, you want to go up to the field and work on some pitching and stuff? She's like, yeah. And so we did that for a couple hours, and I'm like, I'd much rather do that, right? And I love turkey hunting, but I've got the whole month to go, and the way I want to do it, I want to shoot one with a bow, and I want to shoot. So it's like I've got some blinds set up at my family farm, and just and I'm getting grit done right now, so it's like I can kind of some midday hunts I can take away and just kind of go sit in the blind and just work them for an hour or something, and
It's not like deer hunting where you just are, I don't know. I'm just not ate up with it. Like, it's very casual for me.
It's very casual, and I would much rather, the thing I love about turkey hunting is just going with other people, having a cup of coffee with me and a call. I don't even, like I said, the camera is one thing, but just being able to sit there and watch the show and call a little bit and just and then when somebody doesn't shoot, just razzing them like you this morning. I would have just razzed the shit out of you. What are you doing?
Yeah, he's just like, they were close enough. Why didn't you shoot? And I'm like, because I was waiting for something cool to happen. He's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and so that's my answer. I haven't been out yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, well, I'll get out. Give it a shot.
We got a month.
Yeah, got another month.
And if it happens, sweet. If it don't, sweet.
Tigers are down 1-0.
That's okay. They're a ninth inning team.
Yeah. No shit. Jesus.
So anyway, I guess we just kind of took the long way around to get back to your Hambino story.
Yeah.
Let's just revisit a little bit of history and
revisit it, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I know you haven't forgotten the story, have you?
It's a lengthy one.
Well, I mean, you can get as long or as short as you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's
this was what, 6 years ago? 5 years ago?
2019.
19.
So it was.
So we're 25. 6 years ago.
6 years ago, which is wild. But yeah. So I will go back and say, like, when I was growing up, I didn't think traveling out of Michigan was ever like a thing. You never heard, anything. When I read the articles or watched like Primos or they're in states, like I thought that's what like the TV guys did, and I thought that's what they do. I grew up on a 220-acre farm. I didn't live on it, but that was our family farm. We still have it, and like that was what I hunted. That's it. That's all I ever hunted. And when I got the job with Chris and Casey, and then my first out-of-state hunt was in Missouri. Then we went to Illinois, and they're getting leases, so I was learning that game. And it's like, okay, this is obtainable, and then it's like figuring out how you do what's OTC and what's a draw and what's all this and that first year at the Keepers, we got doe tags to go down to Illinois and kind of thin some does out late season with a bow, so that was cool. And then, but I guess that was a long way of me just saying, like, going to Iowa was a pipe dream, and like I didn't think that was something like somebody like myself could do, and it was like. And then after, like, reflecting on the hunt and looking back, the hunt that I had was, like, the most epic hunt, regardless of the size of the animal or that I killed an animal. All the other stuff was the most epic hunt that I could have had for a week in the woods. And it's almost like a really seriously, like, a pinch me moment, like, that I actually just get to do that. And like that happened. So it was just something that was like a big pipe dream. And, and to be totally honest with you, I wanted to get a point that year. Yep. I had 3 points. Okay.
Did Did somebody have to tell you, hey, you need to make sure you put in for a point, or were you on it
No,
yourself?
because I was using WTA.
Okay. So
I
they were putting in essentially
Eric
for
Schell
you.
was
Yep.
my guy.
Okay.
And so I was using Worldwide Trophy Adventures, Mark Peterson's
Yep.
company,
Yep.
which is basically a booking agent.
Yep.
It's, I had an agent, Eric Schell, and he'd call me and he'd be like, all right, what do you want to put in for this year?
Okay.
And I'd be like, hey, I'm going to do this, this, and this. But for some reason, I want to say I put in for that year. No, I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember if it was them or me, but regardless, it doesn't matter. I wanted to put in for a point. I didn't think I was going to draw with 3 because at that time, you were basically guaranteed a tag for that zone with 4 points.
Yeah.
When you were sitting on 4 going to 5.
Yep.
So whoever decided to put me in, I thought I was getting a point. Well, come whatever, it was like June or July or whenever you get the tags. Like I'm sitting at my desk one day and somebody brings up the mail. It came to the studio and I came back from lunch or something and there's this envelope and it says Iowa DNR.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, maybe this is, like an update, like, hey,
Sure.
unsuccessful or
Yeah.
I was thinking I was getting a point,
Right.
Maybe it was like
Yeah, here's your receipt for putting in for a point.
yeah, here's the copy of this, how many points you have, this is your summary. I opened up the thing, flip it open, and it says, you've been granted a Iowa archery deer tag. And I'm like, holy fudge a mother. And I'm like, so I come up to the desk and I got this thing and I open up this envelope and I'm like, it says you've been granted a non-resident Iowa deer tag.
Yep.
And I'm like, holy shit. Like I did not expect that. I didn't have plans for that.
Right.
The plan was I was going to draw Kansas. I put in for Kansas that year.
Okay.
Casey and I were going to do Kansas together. And I'm like, holy crap. So I got an Iowa tag. And it was kind of taken back. I'm like, this has just got really real. Like,
Was this your first time going to Iowa?
with a weapon in my hand, yeah.
Okay.
But like filming, I've been there. Like I said,
yeah.
I filmed Casey once with a gun, late season with a gun, and then twice with a bow.
Okay.
So I've witnessed Iowa in the rut
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And I'm like, holy crap. So I called Chad, and I'm like, I drew. He's like, see you in the fall.
And you knew that's where you were going.
Yeah, because Chad and I, like I said, we've known each other
Just
for
had a good relationship.
yeah, and I think it was probably the second or third time I was there with Casey, and he's like, you need to start putting for points and just come out here. And
Yeah.
he's like, I got farms,
Yeah.
ones that he wasn't outfitting on, but he's like, I got some farms. And just
he's
come
a
out and hunt.
WTA like preferred
Yep, outfitter for Iowa.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And he's like, just stay out here and we'll get you set up and get you on a farm and
Yeah.
have some fun. And I'm
Right.
like, great.
Hell yeah.
So called him and he's like, perfect. I'll see you in the fall. And I'm like, so I'm like, holy crap. So Casey and I, we make a plan. And our plan was to start in Kansas on their Kansas lease that year. And I was just going to literally, I'm going to film Casey in Kansas until he kills, and then we'll go to Iowa. But I did ask him, him and I talked about it, and I wanted to be in the rut. I wanted at least a week. You wait, you pay for this tag, and yada, yada. So we go to Kansas, and it was the first time I've ever been in Kansas hunting in September. And and it was hotter than the hinges of Haiti. Holy shit, it was hot. And I think we actually spent more time just like prepping stands and blinds and didn't even hunt really. Him and I came home, and then we went back later in October, and then we were going to stay. I want to say it was like mid-October, but we had plans to stay until we filled all the tags.
Okay.
3 tags we had to fill. And so we go back, and, man, we just hit a lull in Kansas in October. Later, it was middle to late October, and it was just getting warm. The deer weren't moving.
Yeah.
The cameras were shut down. And we creep into November, and it was November. It was either Halloween or it was November 1st. I think it was November 1st. It was November 1st, I believe. I haven't told this story in a while, so some of my details might be a little off. But I called Chad, and I'm like, how is it going in Iowa right now? And he literally says, can you guys get here tonight? Because you need to be here. The next 4 to 5 days are going to be absolutely fire. Ugh. And I look at Casey, and I'm like, what do you want to do? As I'm on the phone with Chad, and he goes, let's load the truck. Let's go. It was only, I want to say it was 2.5 hours, 3 hours from Chad's. He's like,
wow.
Let's go.
That's easy.
And I'm like, all right, Chad, I guess we'll see you tonight or in the morning.
Right.
We literally load the truck, and we head north. And we get there late that night. And we had a farm in mind. We called it the family farm, and it was a farm that Chad had never. He's always wanted to try to get it to hunt, and could never really get in there. And the short story is basically leased it for $500.
Yeah,
legit.
Right.
Took some money there. She said no, and then had the. She didn't know we had the money kind of thing. And, hey, how's this sound? She's like, yep, absolutely. Here you go. And we're like, holy shit, we got the keys to this farm now. Like, they're just wild.
And this is like first time anybody stepped foot on this?
So we did find out was it her son-in-law, which looking back now, he's like an older guy, probably in his 50s, probably ground blind hunter, literally drives his pickup to the blind, gets in it for the last hour of light with a crossbow. That's how he hunts it. That's it. We didn't know that though, which at the time, we go there and didn't take any trail cams. We weren't going to do any trail cams. It was like, we've got a week to 10 days in Iowa, November. Let's hit it balls to the wall and see what we can kill. And my goal was to I wanted to shoot like 140-inch deer.
Sure.
Like that would have been, at that time, that was
tickled.
Oh God, that would have been like my biggest deer at that time.
Wow.
And so Casey and I get there late. The next morning, we unload stuff we didn't hunt. And he's like, let's take the Ranger. It was an electric EV Ranger. It's quieter and shit. Let's take a couple stands and let's go. It's a CRP farm. So it's 200 and some acres. I can't remember how many it was. In the 200s. And it's made up of CRP, and it had two draws. CRP bottom, and it was like kind of up top, and it went down to a bowl, and there was a draw on the bottom, and there was a draw that came in that teed. And then there was fence rows. There was a little bit of crop. It was all beans on the farm, but everything around it was standing corn.
Oh.
And I take that back. There was one standing corn piece, and then which we had a little bit of that standing corn piece, and then there was a cornfield across the road that was cut, just freshly cut. There was entry from the south, and there was entry from the north. Okay, there was no entry from east or west. It was a longer, skinny piece. And we were talking, and we were like, what do we want to do here? So we load up the Ranger, we go in, and we're driving the edge of the CRP. And Casey's like, we pull up Onyx or Huntwise, I can't remember what it was at the time. And he's like, what do you think? Where do you want to go? And I'm like, I had picked out like a spot on the edge of the standing corn where the draw came out of the standing corn, and it met like another draw, and I'm like, let's start here, or this is where I was thinking. He goes, what do you think about up on the fence row? So there was a like if this is the cornfield, like the fence row came in like this and like this, and he's like on that inside corner. I was thinking a draw down farther east where the corn, it was a low point.
Okay.
There was good sign down there.
Yeah.
But it made a lot of sense because he's like, it'd be the highest point of the farm. It was a really nice cedar tree right there. Let's put the stands up and let's just monitor for a day or two.
Yeah.
And just see, because you could see literally for a long ways. And the tiny dancer was born that day. So it was a tiny cedar tree. I mean, I got a picture of Casey. He's got his hand where his head is around the cedar, and he's got his hand around it.
The only thing from keeping it from breaking is probably up against a bunch of other cedar trees.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't have to have a ladder, a climbing stick, or nothing because there's so many limbs. You know, and
you had to cut limbs to get in it.
You did. So we got two stands in there. He was off the back looking at the standing corn, which we had a little bit of that, and I was looking, out to the CRP. So we hung it. I think we went back and got a bite to eat. Came back that night. Okay. And our plan was to enter from that standing corn, come down the standing corn edge, and just climb right in.
Right.
And just see what happens. First night we get in. So we climb up, we get in. I look over to that bottom. There was where the cedar draw was in the bottom, and I just see a rack. And I'm like, holy shit, Casey, big deer. And he's bedded on the edge of the cedars, kind of looking up towards us. Can't see us. He's probably 200 yards away. Great 10-point, 140-inch 10-point.
Oh.
First deer I saw in Iowa, and I'm like, yep, going to kill you.
Yep.
Come on up here,
Right.
And he never ended up coming up. He kind of moseyed our way a little bit, milled around, made some scrapes. We saw a lot of deer. We saw so many deer. I mean, every sit, it seemed like. And night ended, we go back to that tree that next day. So this is where the details kind of get fuzzy. So I'm going to kind of like bridge through some days. But one day we go in, we hunted this tiny dancer stand every sit, but 3.
Okay.
Okay, so we were there the November 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. I killed on the 7th, November 7th. So 5 of those days, we hunted that same stand. We hunted that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So were you hunting morning going in?
Oh, yeah.
Hunting afternoon going. Okay.
So
no all day sets or anything like that.
We would get out for an hour and a half to get a bite.
Sure.
And then
just jump right back.
Yep. And stretch your legs a little bit because it was the farm was like around noon. It would just like a faucet had shut off.
The movement by you was just done.
It just shut off.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go back. So that first night that happens, and I want to say it was either the first night or the second night. I think it was the first night. So that 140's down there. All of a sudden, I look down in this bottom. So there's when I look straight down in the cedars, there's a cedar draw here, and then there's a cedar draw. So let's say there's a cedar draw that comes from the north that I'm looking at going south, and there's one that comes from the east going west. I'm looking at the one that goes from the north to the south. I look down there, and here is the biggest deer that I've ever seen in my life when I had a weapon in my hand. Okay, now we've seen some big deer when my weapon was the camera.
Sure.
This was 170-inch, no doubter, clean 10, but he had double split 2s, and he was a mainframe 10A. I think he had split 2s, maybe a split 3. I mean, just chocolate racked. I would say mid-60s to 170.
Oh, my
God. I threw the kitchen sink at this deer.
Yeah.
I was rattling. I was like, and he did not care about me. He was not coming up there. And if I had to guess, that draw was probably 200 yards down to the edge of it, and he wasn't coming up. That was that night. So I've already seen 2 bucks, 140 or plus, and one like mega that I would call mega in that night, and I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Right.
So didn't kill anything that night. Get in the same tree that next morning. Remember, Casey is facing back towards the corn. And it's gray light. It gets light. I can shoot. Casey goes, big deer right behind us. It's the big prick. It's the big 10, like from the night before.
Okay.
So what had happened was I'm facing down to the west. Casey's facing east. That deer came right up the standing corn, and he's standing at 12 yards.
Oh, my gosh.
right behind us, and he has almost got our wind. Because our wind is blowing right
towards
he
him.
is 3 steps, and his nose is in the wind.
He's getting a big smell.
Casey goes, "Can you get your bow?" And I'm like thinking, no way. I got to stand up, grab my bow, and turn around. Somehow I did it. I got up, turn around, get ready to go to full draw. I go to full draw, absolutely zero shot. There's just so much shit in the way.
You're in a cedar.
I was in a cedar. And we didn't trim anything in the back, because we didn't expect really anything,
Of course.
So he walks through our wind, doesn't really bug out or nothing, but just he walks the trail that we came in on, he walks it out. I'm like, holy crap. I've been in Iowa for, 48 hours, and I've had, already an opportunity at a booner.
Greatest days of your life.
Oh my gosh. And I can't remember if it was that morning, but we saw a big 8 that we ended up calling Ted Bundy. Because he was harassing every doe, dude. And I'm like, because Casey and I always name the deer, and I'm like, Casey, and I want to say the Ted Bundy film came out around that time, and I'm like, we called him Ted.
He's creepy Ted.
Yeah. He was just a big 8, didn't score worth a darn. I mean, this deer was 250 on the hoof, at least. He probably scored in the 30s, just an old decrepit bastard that was like, he harassed every deer.
He's a bully buck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And saw him, and then one morning, we're sitting there, and I'm looking across, and if you go down to that draw, and then you kind of come up at cedar on that, or CRP on that side, and there is a big frame deer working down in the bottom, and I'm like, that is a stud. It is.
Yeah.
He's probably only 16 inches wide, but he is tall, basketball racked, big tines, probably.
That's my jam.
Probably 10-inch 2s, probably this 9-inch 3s. He ended up being a 9. And I'm like, that's a big deer. That's a shooter. And he's kind of working away from us. And I think I grunted at him or whatever. And Casey goes, "Give me that grunter." Because I couldn't move. I was exposed.
Yeah.
And he turns around and he grunts and snort wheezes like away from us.
Yeah.
That deer pins his ears back from 200 yards away, turns, and comes on a string right to us. The only problem was he was coming on my weak side. So I had to stand up, and I had to turn, and I would have to go to full draw on the weak side, and I'm exposed on this side. Because, I mean, those cedars are great, but you got to gut them to get into them.
Yeah.
And he comes, and he's coming on a string, and he is like a turkey ready to fight the decoy. And he gets to the point where I'm getting ready to go to full draw, and I'm going to I had to get to full draw and just let him just stay at full draw until he turned.
Right.
Because I'm like, you're going to walk right into us. And I go like this, I get like tension on the string, and he goes boom right up at me, and I'm like, shit, he picked me. So I'm sitting here like this now. And he's looking, Casey's on him, and I'm like, he's within top pin club, right? I mean, he's probably 25 yards right now.
Yeah.
I think, if I remember right. And I'm like, just move, look down. He looks down, and I go like this, and he goes, boom, picks me again. And I'm like halfway back, drawn.
So full tension.
Oh, God, you're holding 70 pounds right now.
Exactly.
And
how high are you in the tree?
12 feet.
Okay, so not
it's
high,
not
obviously.
A big tree.
Yeah.
And the thing is I'm exposed. There's no back cover for me because we trimmed out that side of the tree. So he's just like staring at us. I'm like, you bastard, And all of a sudden he like gets ready to like turn or something like that. And then I go again, and he goes boom and gets me again. And I'm like, geez, oh Pete's like finally he turned, and I went to full draw, and I had a limb right in the way. Casey's like, I'm on him. And I'm like, he gave me a split second where I could have just, shot one, but there was too many limbs right there. He turns around and just walks the trail that he came in on.
Yeah.
And didn't booger, nothing. And I'm like, such a big 9. I mean, this deer's in the 50s as a 9. And I'm like, you kidding me? So the trip started to get to the point of like, I'm seeing all these big deer and getting close, but like, is this ever going to happen kind of thing? You know, and I'm like 4 days into this trip, and it's like
so many encounters.
So many. So I see him, and then there was one morning we saw like 2 40s type deer off in the distance with some does. I mean, you look in a pocket over here, and there's like, oh shit, there's a buck over there. You look over here, there's like 2 bucks over here, and you look over there, and you're like, oh my god, there's like a 160 over there, and it's like,
oh my gosh, dude.
It was. We hit the absolute most perfect time I've ever hit a rut in any location. I don't care if it's Michigan, Iowa. It was
anytime,
so
anywhere in your entire hunting career.
So perfect.
Yeah.
And we hunted that tree for like 3 or 4 days, and we were in the deer, and I was getting close. So we were like, why should we move? You know, kind of thing. But farther down to the west, there was a standing or a bean field, and I'm like, one night I glassed, you know, from about 500 yards away through the glass, I glassed a big deer, and there was a lot of does on that plot, and I'm like, well, maybe we'll go do a hang and bang over there. Tried that one night, saw some smaller bucks and does, but I just had to get back over the Tiny Dancer. You know, that tree, we called it the Tiny Dancer. Nick Casey named it because it was like you're up there and the tree's moving, you know, and it's. So we go back that next morning. I want to say it's that next morning, and like it's dark. Or it's gray light. I can see to shoot, and coming up from the bottom, I'm looking down on the CRP. I see a deer come and pick the binos up. Boom, big 9. It's the big 9 that I was trying to get at, and he is coming to our tree right now, and he gets to 20 yards. I go to full draw, and I'm like, Casey, you on him? Because I can throttle him. He is broadside, and Casey's like, I can't. He's like, I can't get him. He could get the deer, but it was just dark. And I'm like, of all the times, I filmed him for 11 years, and I've never had to call him off a deer. And he's like, he felt terrible. He's like, I can't get him, you know? And
did you ever think, screw this camera, I am shooting this deer?
A little part of me. But then I'm like, you know what? I'm here to do a job.
Sure.
You know, I want it to be on camera. Sure. And it's like, in looking back in hindsight, it's like everything happens for a reason.
Right.
There was obviously a bigger outcome for me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not meaning that in like as the size of the deer, but there was something different.
Sure.
You know. So he can get on him, and when I got back in post that day, we put it on, and I'm like, I probably could have shot him. I mean, it was grainy, but he was in the frame. He had him.
Yeah.
But he didn't know, and I don't blame him for calling me off. I mean, I wasn't like I was mad or anything, but I was a little frustrated. I'm like, what do I got to do? You know, I've been full draw 3 times on deer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, we just can't get this to happen. So I feel like I'm leaving out a big detail, but this is on my YouTube channel, the Fall Podcast YouTube channel, the whole hunt, if you guys want to see it. So, it was one day, it would have been November 6th. November 6th, we get in the tree, and it was a morning. I want to say it was the morning hunt of the 6th. Is that right? That is not right. It would have been, how would that have happened? Because on the 6th, we would
because you shot him on the 7th.
It was the 5th. It was the morning of November 5th. We get in the tree. We've hunted all morning, seen deer all over, probably seen a shooter buck or anything, but it was like mid-morning. Casey's like, grab those antlers, crack those together, see if we can, it was pretty windy. We're going to see if we can draw something out of the standing corn behind us. So over to my right, to the north, there's another draw that comes out of the standing corn, and it's about 150 yards away, and it meets that draw that comes from the north to the south. It kind of makes, and then it, you know, does one of those. Well, there's an opening for like a side-by-side trail that they have that you can drive a side-by-side through, whatever. Okay. Well, there was a huge scrape right there. I remember seeing, like, we'd come in that way, you'd see a huge scrape. And so I'm cracking these things together. You know, I'm looking left, I'm looking right, seeing if anything's coming. Casey's looking behind, and I'm rattling. I kind of like look forward, and something catches me out of the corner of my eye over here, and I look, I do this, and I see a doe darting out of the corn down that draw, and all of a sudden I see a rack. And I see a glimpse of white, and then he gets behind those cedars, and I'm like, Casey, big deer. Not knowing what it was.
Sure.
Could have been a spike. I don't know. But I saw a really good left side.
Yeah.
Well, he's coming for that opening. All of a sudden, he gets in the opening, and Casey was recording, and he sees him walk up, and that's the first glimpse I ever got of the Great Hambino. And he comes in that, and I just got chills. That's just reliving it. He gets in that opening, and the doe, she was going so fast that he lost the doe. She went down in these cattails that were in the bottom, and I even lost the doe. I don't even know where she went. And all of a sudden, he's up in this scrape, and he is just, I'm like, what?
Everything.
Is he? Yeah. Like, I'm looking through the binos, but then you go to the binos, and I'm like, I don't need the binos because I know he's a shooter. What do I got to do to get this deer over here now? He then works down to that draw in front of us, okay? And he's going to work from north to south in front of us at 200 yards. And I want to, he gets down, so where the draw from the north to the south, there is a tree. There's like 2 cedar trees at the point of it. And all week, every shooter buck that we saw would come and hit a scrape underneath that tree. And we never moved there. We always talked about we never moved there because it would change our visual so much.
Yeah.
You know, when the wind and the thermal's down in that bottom, you just never know what they were going to do.
You don't want to be down there.
Well, he goes right to that scrape. And he devours that scrape down in front of us. Casey's filming the whole thing. I think I grunted or rattled at him. He snort wheezes. You can see on the video, you can see him do his thing. And never came up. He was looking for his doe. He works that whole pinch or that whole drainage down there, and he out of my life. And I'm like, I look at Casey. I'm like, what the hell was that? Like, what was that? The biggest deer I've ever seen. Ever. We didn't know how big he was. We just knew he was really big.
Just big.
Tines everywhere. So we go back to the house. We put it on the big screen, and we're like, you know, zooming in on it. And I'm like, I don't care how big he is. He's big enough, you know. And we had at this point we had started to think about like not necessarily moving farms, but like what's the next move kind of thing because we've had opportunities. It's just it's gonna happen. Yeah. We thought, and I take that back. When he did that, I looked at Casey and I said, we got to move down there because we had been talking about moving down there.
Okay.
And I'm like, that was the last straw. And him and Casey, before I even said it, he's like, we're moving down there. We literally bust everything down, take the stands down, and we walk right through the CRP, right down to that tree.
Right to that scrape?
Yep, right to the scrape.
No shit.
We're like, every deer has come by this. We have, big details I forget about. We're like, we're going to that tree. We get down there, and it changes everything. I mean, you can't
your
see.
Your sight line's gone.
Your sight line's gone. You can't see. You can only see if anything's in front of you, basically. Right. And think of this, if you're listening to this, think of this as like a fence row. It's just a wooded fence row, basically, but it's a drainage. There's a little creek, wet, runoff but it's as big as a fence row, and it's down in a bowl. A cedar, and there's not cedars, but CRP on each side of you. And so Casey gets up and he starts hanging it, and I'm doing some filming, doing some vlogging or whatever, and he's hanging. And I believe we hung it, we went and got some food, came back, and I lied to you. This was on the 6th. This is on the 6th. This all happened on, not the 5th. I believe we went back and got some food and came back that day, or came back right away, got in the tree. Well, when we got up there and we were hanging it, so like Casey, again, I'm on the side where the scrape is, so I have one lane. I cut one lane to that scrape, overhanging branch. I'm like, it is a 15-yard shot. Yep. Every deer has hit that scrape. Every big deer.
That's my shot.
That's where it's going to happen. I even took a picture just to have it still on my phone. I think it is. But I pointed at the scrape, and I sent it to my buddies. I'm like, call my shot. That's where it's going to happen. So Casey's behind me. I'm facing east, up towards the standing corn. Okay. I'm facing the Tiny Dancer stand. I can see Tiny Dancer, and I can see the corn. He is facing west. Okay. The tree to the north of us is the last tree in this point. Like we cannot see anything to the north.
Okay.
And there's a pond up there, and there's a pond dam, and it's got cedars all around it.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, and the wind is whipping. We saw like 2 does that night. The worst night of hunting we had the whole time. Like only seen like 1 or 2 deer. Nothing happened. The next day, the 7th, we knew it was going to be the coldest day of November. We even kind of marked it on the calendar of like when we got there, like 7th is going to be our day because it took like a 20-degree drop in temp overnight. So we're like, I want to say it was like 20 degrees. It was freezing cold.
Yeah.
We get back in the tree, and
you're in the new spot now.
Yep, and we call it the hot corner.
Okay.
Okay, because it's on a corner, but it's literally when the deer are on us, they are top pin club right away.
Right.
That's what they are. So we didn't trim anything to the back of me because we were like, it's going to happen in front of me. We didn't because I wanted some back cover.
Yeah.
We left it all. So to enter this tree, we had to like go way out of our way to the west to go around this pond dam because we felt like deer were probably bedding around that pond dam. So we would go like 200-300 yards to the west, walk up a fence row, then come up over this terrace and then like drop down in. It was way out of our way, but it was one of those entries that you had to do that.
Yeah.
So we get in that morning, colder than shit. Casey's like the batteries are just dying like rapidly, you know. Like I said, I'm looking up towards the Tiny Dancer, and there's frost everywhere. And the sun is coming up right above the Tiny Dancer tree, okay? And it's blinding me.
Yeah.
And I look up there, and I see like 2 does literally underneath our old tree. And I pick the binos up, and when I pick the binos up, here comes 3 more does, like they're getting pushed. Here comes the Great Hambino right underneath of our old tree.
Good Lord.
I about took my safety harness and just went right this around the neck and just jumped right out. Just, you know. But boy, did he put on a show of all shows. What he did that morning with the frost on his back, nudging does. I'm so glad Casey was there to film it. Laid down some great footage. He works those does. I mean, literally scraping the cedar boughs on our tree that we've been in for 5 days. And he walks right underneath of them, top pin club, goes right over to where that big 9 was standing when I was going full draw on him. He was right there. And then he goes over to this terrace, and now he's right in front of me at like 100 yards, and he's just working these does, sticking his nose out, his breath's coming out. And I'm like, He looked like he rubbed all the hair off his back from like a fence, but it was all frost on his back. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, just come down here.
That's what dreams are made of.
Oh, it really is. I'm like, just come down here. Just, you know, one of these does, just come down here. Every deer has come down to the scrape. Come down here. Well, right when I said that, here they come. And he's starting to push 1 doe. And I'm like, please. They get to like 80 yards. They stop, take a 90, and they go straight north towards that pond dam, him and 1 doe, out of my life.
Are you shaking?
Oh, dude, like a leaf. Like a leaf. You know, now he's within 80 yards, and it's like I've got an unbelievable look at this deer, and it's like this deer is on a different level.
Right.
And
it's cold.
So cold.
Your feet are...
Casey's burning through batteries.
Your knees are bouncing.
So... He goes to the north. That's where we came in from, but we had to kind of loop around. And so we're sitting there, and we waited out for a couple hours, and we both kind of looked at each other. Casey was on like his last battery. I'm like, I don't know if I could have sat there all day because of how cold it was.
You could now with Osseo.
Yeah, I won't lie to you. I had some
shameless.
I had 5 different. I had 5 different camo patterns on that day. You should see the pictures from it. I was wearing Realtree on my bottoms. I had like Cabela's on the top, a puffy jacket, a different hat. I had a mossy oak safety harness on. It was like, dude, I was like Walmart wrapped up into a cedar tree in Iowa. Is what I was.
It's a grab bag of camo.
And I was cold. And We look at each other and we're like, let's get down and go get a bite to eat and literally get in this tree within an hour. Like, just charge some batteries. I had some extra batteries back at the house. Charge some, get as much juice as we can, and let's get back in and we're going to ride it. Like, we're riding here. This is where it's going to happen or it's not, for the next couple days. You're at that
scrape.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we go back. We left everything in the tree. I think we even left the camera in the tree. We just took the batteries with us. I left my bow, everything. We had to walk, again, loop around because we had to play it like he took that doe to that pond dam.
Right.
And laid her up for the day. That's how we had to play it. And we even talked about that. And so we get out, we do our thing, we come back in, we get in the tree, do an interview, talk about it. I mean, it's gotten a little warmer. The sun's kind of come out, and it's still cold, but it got warmer. We're sitting there. I think about an hour into the hunt or the sit, roughly. Casey goes, I can hear a deer coming from the north. Remember, there's a cedar tree, and we cannot see. He's like, I can hear it walking. And he's like, and it's going to come on my side of the tree. I have no shot over there. And here comes a doe, walks by 17 yards. Just like from the north. I mean, chip shot, but I have no shot because we didn't cut any of the cedars or nothing.
Yeah.
Actually, what I think we did is we took paracord. We did cut it, but we took paracord and we, like a clothesline,
it across
and we put cedars on it to give me break out my outline. So that deer walks by. Immediately, we look at each other, and Casey goes, we got to take this down because you have to be able to shoot here. Because if anything does that again, we're pooched.
We can't let that happen again.
Exactly. So we rip it down, and we're sitting there, and I don't know, time goes on, and I want to say it was about 3 o'clock or 2:30, somewhere in that time. He goes, I hear another deer coming from the north, and he's like, hey, B, there's one coming. Here comes another doe, lone doe, by herself, back all ruffled up, and
somebody just had a party.
Yeah, coming from the pond dam. And I'm like, thinking to myself, why is there a lone doe, a mature lone doe, by herself now on November 7th, by her, and her back's roughed up?
Right.
I think we kind of had the conversation of that's his doe. He's right here. Half hour goes by. She kind of works on. Half hour goes by, whatever. We're kind of sitting there, and I'll never forget it. Casey taps me and goes, another deer coming from the north. He can hear him. He can't see him because that tree's so big.
Right.
For some odd reason, I just grabbed my bow. And I had to stand up and grab my bow. I turn around. As I'm turning around like this, he goes, it's the big prick. He can see the Hambino's left side out underneath the cedar at about 22 yards. He's like, it's him. And he hits record, and I had to go under my tether, and I clip on, and I can't see him yet because he still hasn't made it to
the opening.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he takes a step, and I see him, and it's him. It's him. And I go to full draw, and we walked in down the hill from there. He hits our ground scent immediately, puts the skids on, but he keeps his head down, turns, and he comes right at us. He's coming down the trail and he gets to 17 yards and turns, and I'm at full draw, and I'm like, you good? And he's like, and I didn't even say if you're good. I didn't even do that because I was so shook up. And I was shooting through a hedge apple tree.
Yeah.
Didn't have any leaves on it, but there was the hedge was off of it.
Yeah.
I was shooting through that, and I picked a window about as big as a basketball. And I just go, meh, and he stops, and I just, boom, and I hit him. I actually hit a limb. My fletching hit a limb, but it was so close that it was just it almost sounded like, just like a
yeah.
And he just barrels out of there, up the hill from where we came. He goes up 150 yards away, and he's just goes over a terrace. And you can see his head, and he's just standing there. He just does this, and he's just wobbling. And all of a sudden, boom, goes down. And we freaking lose it like two squirrel girls. And I'm like,
at a Justin Bieber concert.
Oh, my God. We were in the green room with the Biebs is what we were. Holy shit, what just happened? And I initially thought the hit was high. Like when I hit him, I'm like, that's too high. Not backstrap, but I'm like, too high. But the angle it was at, I mean, it took out both the lungs.
Yeah.
And I mean, oh my gosh, cried. I ended up crying and called what made me cry was I called my wife, and there was Casey and I, Chris knew about the deer, obviously Chad, my buddy Cole, and then my buddy Aaron. And my wife. Mm-hmm. They were the only people knew. We weren't telling anybody about this deer. They were the only people that knew we were chasing this deer. I called my wife first. My daughter's 2 years old.
Yeah.
She was 2. And Casey was recording, and I call her, and she goes, hello, and she's at her mom's house, and I'm like, I just killed that big deer. I just killed the big one. And she goes, are you serious or whatever? And she starts bawling, like crying on the phone. And then Casey starts crying. And he goes, you're going to make me cry, And then my daughter gets on the phone. She goes, Daddy, big buck. And
is that the audio you use? Okay,
on
that's
my
the
intro.
audio you use in the intro
it's
for
my,
the fall podcast.
Yeah, so if you listen to my intro, that is
that
the audio. Yeah.
That's so
and
cool, dude.
She goes, remember the, because I sent her some pictures of the video that we had of the day before. And she goes, remember the one that you just called a baby? Because my daughter called it a baby buck. And she's like, big buck, big. I'm like, oh, my God. So that's why I use that for the intro.
That's so cool, dude.
And called her, called Cole, called my buddy Aaron, and then we just called Chris. And, dude, I don't know. We stayed in the tree for, it seemed like forever. Just like, just taking it all in.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then we went and walked up on him, still not knowing what he was, And when we came over that terrace, it was what you see on camera when you watch it is legit the initial. And we even talked about Casey's like, we're not doing recreates on nothing on this. This is, and what you see on my reaction on everything, the talk and the walk up, everything is what you get.
Yeah,
it's the real deal. And
Insane,
it was crazy.
Insane. I mean, how many high fives and hugs did you have just in that moment when you guys went up to him, like you and Casey?
Gosh.
I'm like, you had to have like, yeah, hug,
it was,
yeah.
And once we cut roll, turn the cameras off and everything, and we were waiting for Chad. We called Chad, and he was going to come out there, and we just sat there. I just remember just like, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know. I just would like stare at him and like, I don't know. It was just in this I can't explain it. I've never had it on kinda on the deer I killed in Ohio in 21, the full frontal deer.
Yeah.
That deer I had that moment. That was the biggest typical I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, with a weapon. I mean, it still probably is the biggest typical without a weapon. It was a giant deer. When I walked up on him too, there was this like, you just don't know what to say. You're just you're in awe.
Yeah.
You're just lost for words.
Speechless.
Yeah. It was crazy, man. We didn't drink any beer that night either.
No, I'm sure nothing. No consuming of any alcoholic beverages. What does Chad think about that? Like, what's his reaction?
So Chad,
I mean, because he lives in a world of giant deer.
Oh yeah, and Chad's killed some giant deer, but Chad's to the point now where he hasn't hunted in a long time because he won't hunt unless he can. It's got to be basically mid-70s or bigger for him to go after it.
Yeah,
and he's had a couple of deer like that where he's maybe I should dust the bow off this year.
Sure,
let's say, you know? Chad, he is like he gets excited, but it's kind of like I don't know. He was really excited, but he's not one to like jump up and down.
Sure, he's not a big rah-rah guy.
Yeah, not a big rah-rah guy. But I could tell, knowing him, it was just like, holy fuck. Like, this is a good deer.
This is amazing. Yeah.
And we still didn't know how big he was going to be.
Yeah.
And we just knew he was a big body. We knew he had a lot of tines and that one side, which is my logo, is just never replicated.
No.
And But Chad was just Chad. He was like, I think he was just more of like shocked that it happened and like, holy crap, because he's never seen this deer. This is a brand new farm. Yeah. As of like 6 days ago, and it's like, yeah, it was pretty crazy.
I love that story. It's still probably one of the best stories. I mean, from a listening standpoint, like that's a campfire story that'll live on in infamy.
Yeah, it really is. And it's like, I don't know. It's, I try to shelf the story now because I don't want to go back this year and expecting like, oh, this is. I had literally the best, like the bar. Yeah. It's the bar. Now it's like, I don't want to be disappointed.
Yeah. So like, you're going to draw. Let's just say you're going to draw. What's the plan? Are you going back to that tree? Are you going to kind of just like rethink it and just...
So that farm is not in our possession right now.
Okay.
There is talks, Chad and I have been talking about trying to get it back.
Okay.
But there is another farm right now that is kind of... I kind of don't want to go to that farm because I don't want... Because I know how that farm is, or kind of. Yeah. And I don't want to be like...
Well, it has to happen this way.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't want to be like drawn to that tree.
Sure.
I kind of want to go into something blind in a way.
Open-minded.
Like, yeah. So the farm that I am going to hunt, I've never set foot on it yet, still to this day. So, Chad and I have talked about like when I officially draw, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to take cams. Like and I want to set it up like I would a farm.
Yep.
For myself,
brand new
around here. Yep.
Yeah.
Set cameras up, prop some trees, and just get ready and get a lay of the land.
Yeah, and I think that's a great thing because if that farm was in his possession still, you would go to that farm, and no matter where else you sat, you'd always be thinking,
always think about
God,
that.
I should probably be in that tree.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really want that. That's not a good feeling to have, is always second guessing where you are. Just because you had past success in this other spot.
Exactly. And I kind of want... I've kind of went back and forth on the camera thing. Like, do I do the camera thing? Do I not? I'm like so 50-50 on it because like the Hambino was a surprise. Mm-hmm. I knew of that deer for 48 hours before
Right.
Now, if I get a Hambino on camera.
Oh yeah.
It's like, okay, like
now you
this
got
this
months.
deer or bust.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like I like that though, because it's a really cool feeling and it's like it's storyline. It makes the story better. Right. Like, hey, found this deer in the summer, killed him or had an opportunity. Yeah. But then there's also like just don't really know what's out here.
I'd like to be surprised.
Too. So I'm kind of on the fence. Like, I don't know. We'll see. But what will probably just draw me out there is just to go out and hang out with Chad, like in the summer.
Sure.
And what we're talking about is because I've never been to Iowa in August looking at Beanfield. Oh, and Chad's like, come out in August.
Yeah,
because we'll get some amazing footage of some big deer. So I'm like, really want to do that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So
great story, dude. Great story.
It,
yeah, man. I'm looking forward to how the season progresses. I mean, here we are. We're just into May. Yeah. May now, and I'm already geeked up.
I know. Yeah, and I'm gonna kick the season updates. I do those season updates. Like, so when I'm there, you're gonna get daily podcasts and seeing how the hunt goes.
I assume are you taking a cameraman with you?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. As of right now, yeah. I mean. Yeah. I need to because if something happens like that again, it'd be so hard to self-film it.
My gosh.
And I know what I'd say. I'd be like, forget the camera.
Yeah.
I'm just, so right now, probably Lewis Miller that filmed me last year. He'll probably go with me.
Nice.
So.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Well, I mean, I look forward to, it's going to be a couple months of like kind of this stalemate where everybody's waiting to see what's going to happen because it's kind of screwed up when you're putting in for tags and there's like, especially if you're going like to Kansas and say Iowa, you got to put in for Kansas before you put in for Iowa.
I know.
So then there's just like this like weird, like, God, what if I draw this or what if I don't? It's a weird feeling because they're not like, I wish they would all be the same month, the same date, and they all come out on the same results at the same time, but that'll never happen.
I know.
So,
yeah.
but anyway, so yeah, great story. I appreciate you coming over tonight. Thanks for having a couple beers with me and sharing that Hambino story. And if you guys ever, if anybody's listening and have now heard this story for the first time and you want to actually see this deer in person, go over to Arron's YouTube page. Is it The Fall Podcast or just okay?
Type in The Fall Podcast.
Type in The Fall Podcast on YouTube, and you'll be able to see all of this footage in person and really, really get a grasp of the specimen of deer that this deer is, because he is like no other deer that I've ever seen and probably will not ever see.
Yeah.
It's just the weirdest deer, and I mean, that deer essentially it changed a lot of things for you.
I made a brand.
That's what I'm saying. Deer, you made it your brand for basically everything social media that you have. So, go check that on YouTube. If you haven't, follow Arron on The Fall Podcast. He's on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the stupid social media
all the necessary evils.
Yeah. But you know what? That's how we get to share our stories and the cool shit that we get to do. So anyway, that's going to do it for this evening. Thanks for joining in. This is the Mic'd Up Outdoor Podcast. We'll see you on the next go around. Have a good night.